Hey guys, it's Kenny here from the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast and the FantasyFanatics.com, bringing you my cash game cornerstones for the Byron Nelson Classic. I had the week off last week because of vacation, so let's just go straight to this week's tournament. The Byron Nelson Classic is played at TPC Four Seasons at Los Colinas, which is right outside of Dallas, Texas, in Irving. The course is somewhat tough, but players tend to not like it, and it's routinely voted as one of the worst courses on tour by the players. This course is a par 70 with two reachable par 5s, a drivable par 4, and the two toughest holes are 500 plus yard par 4s. The fairways are tough to hit, but the rough isn't that thick. Water is in play on 8 holes, and the bunkers guard the landing areas on tee shots and surround the greens on approaches. The greens are average in size, heavily undulated. They use bent grass, and they're somewhat slow in speed with a stim meter rating of around 11, maybe even a little bit lower at 10.5. The key stats I'm looking for this week are par 4 scoring, birdie or better percentage, driving distance, proximity from 150 to 175 yards, and proximity from 175 to 200 yards. I might take a peek at good drive percentage as well. On the cheat sheet, I'm going to weigh my key stats at 50%. Recent form at 35%, and course history only at 15%. I'm weighing course history a little bit less than usual because first-timers have fared pretty well here in the past, and the course isn't that complex. Let's move on to the picks. First up, it's going to be Brooks Koepka at $10,200. I like Sergio in cash as well, but I'm going to go with the $800 in savings and use Brooks. Now, at first glance, you would think that Brooks is the risky pick. And while I do think he's a little bit riskier than Sergio, I still think he's a fairly safe play. He has 3 straight top 16s on tour, and he's shown that he's a bit of a streaky golfer. In 2014, he had 6 top 11s in 7 weeks played. In 2015, he had 8 consecutive top 22s with 5 top 10s in that span. And last year, he had 5 consecutive top 13s. I think he's in the middle of one of these hot streaks. His stats aren't the best, but that's mostly because of how poorly he played during the beginning of the season. More recently, he's been playing very well, gaining nearly 8 strokes on the field with his approaches the last 2 tournaments, and he's been putting lights out, gaining around 7.5 strokes on the field with his putter in those same 2 events. He's made his last 2 cuts here, finishing 16th in 2015 and 2nd last year. Next up, it's going to be Jason Dufner at $8,800. Now, Dufner hasn't fared too well in marquee events like the majors and the players. In fact, since his PGA Championship win in 2013, he has only 1 top 10 and 12 majors played and hasn't been inside the top 45 at the players. Luckily for us, the Byron Nelson Classic is not a marquee event. Dufner's had 6 consecutive top 25s in non-marquee events and hasn't missed the cut at TPC Four Seasons in the last 6 years. In those 6 cuts made here, Dufner has 3 top 10s. It's obvious that he's a fan of this course. He plays well on par 4s, makes a good amount of birdies, is 22nd in good drive percentage, and was actually 4th in driving distance last week at the Players. He finished 60th at Sawgrass, but if he was 4th in driving distance, it shows to me that he's supremely confident with his driver. He gained 3.7 shots on the field off the tee, so that sort of proves it. I really like Duff Daddy this week. Third pick, it's going to be Russell Henley at $8,300. The best part of Henley's game is his putting, and he's actually been struggling a little bit with his flat stick, losing strokes to the field in 3 of his last 5 tournaments. Normally, when the best part of a golfer's game is struggling, that leads to missed cuts and poor finishes. Well, not in Henley's case. In those 3 starts where he lost strokes putting, which were the Players, the RBC Heritage, and Bay Hill, he finished 35th, 26th, and 45th. Not bad considering how poorly he putted. The thing that has kept him playing the weekend is his off-the-tee game. He's been one of the better drivers of the golf ball the last 2 months, gaining nearly 15 strokes on the field off the tee in his last 5 starts. If he keeps driving the ball like he is and his putting comes around, he can contend this week. He's also made 90% of his cuts this calendar year and is inside the top 5 in the stats I'm looking for on the Fantasy Fanatics cheat sheet this week. He's also finished as high as 22nd here at TPC 4 Seasons in the past. My final cash game cornerstone pick is going to be Kang at $7,400. Now, Kang just watched his fellow countryman and playing partner at the Zurich take down the players, and he lives in Texas. Now, in all honesty, these narratives are on the bottom of my list on why I like Kang this week. He's on a good run, making 5 cuts in a row with 3 top 11s in that span. His best 2 finishes this year have come in the state of Texas. He's been unbelievable with his putter, gaining nearly 23 strokes on the field with his flat stick in the last 4 events he's played. And he's gained over 5 strokes on the field on his approaches just last week at Sawgrass. He's a good par 4 player, makes his fair share of birdies. He finished 34th here last year, and I expect him to improve on that this week. All right, so that's it for my cash game cornerstones for the Byron Nelson Classic. To recap, they're going to be Brooks Koepka at $10,200, Jason Dufner at $8,800, Russell Henley at $8,300, and Kang at $7,400. I think a balanced lineup is the way to go this week, and if you use these 4 golfers in your cash game lineup, it leaves you with over $15,000 left to spend on your final 2 golfers. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Congratulations to Ryan, the owner of the FantasyFanatics.com, for selling his site to Fantasy Labs. I'll be with you here on the FantasyFanatics.com until the transition is complete on August 1st. So there'll be plenty more cash game cornerstone videos and expert models for you to view, including the next 2 majors. Also, check out Brad's weekly GPP video, iPod Todd's European video, and all the tools the FantasyFanatics.com has to offer. All right, guys. Good luck. Let's win some money, and I'll see you next week.